Hello, everybody. My name is Chris. I'm with Tampa Hillsborough County Public Library, and we're excited to have you here for our program, Creating a Powerful Presence on LinkedIn. We're very happy to have Liz M. Lopez with us today. She's going to be leading this session. And before I hand it over to Liz, I just wanted to point out a few things. You can participate in today's session. You can ask questions. In the control panel, there is a question section, so we invite you to submit your questions there, and we will do our best to get some answers for you. We're planning to answer most questions at the end of the session, so just rest assured we'll get to your questions. Also, after the end of today's program, there's going to be a brief survey that pops up. We encourage you to take that survey and let us know how your experience was so we can plan future sessions. And also, we invite you to go to our website at hcplc.org. You can learn about our summer reading programs there. There's some information about curbside pickup services as well. And also, one other thing, if you're having any connection issues today, don't worry, we're going to post this to our YouTube channel in a few days, and that'll be up through the end of summer. So you will be able to access the class for a short period of time. Now, without further ado, I'm very proud and happy to introduce our presenter today, Miss Liz M. Lopez. Hi, Liz.
Hey, Chris, how are you today?
Great.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very much looking forward to sharing these insights on LinkedIn with our audience.
All right, and speaking of insights, Liz provided us some poll questions that we are going to put up on the screen so she can gather some information from you. And I'm going to turn off my camera now, okay, Liz?
Okay, I'm going to do that as well, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So while you're answering the poll questions, I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am, so you know who your instructor is for today. And then we're going to deep dive into some information about LinkedIn and why it's important for you. So I am a career and business coach. I just celebrated 13 years in my practice, working both with corporate professionals as well as business owners. And as part of having that kind of coaching environment, what comes with that is a lot of speaking and presentations, both for business and on the career side, and a lot of collaborations like the one we're doing today with Chris and the library. So always excited when I get to share some of these insights with a new audience. I am very thankful to be the best-selling author of Suck It Up, Buttercup, which goes into 10 tough love strategies to get you off your butt and making money. And that book was written after years as a business coach and taking the top 10 reasons or excuses that people give for not really getting to their goals in their business, and then taking those 10 barriers, turning them around, giving you ways to work through them and shatter those barriers so that you can achieve your objectives in your business. And it also touches on the same type of thing in terms of careers. I do have a second book that will be coming out later this year, and that will talk more about some barriers that we have in terms of our levels of confidence in doing what we really want to be doing with our lives. I'll also share with you that for the past 2 years, I've also been a speaker advocate coach for the Lisa Nichols organization. So Lisa Nichols is this one right here that you see in the middle in the gray suit. And she is basically the, similar to Tony Robbins, an international speaker, transformational speaker, 7-time New York Times bestseller. And she has a program called Ignite Your Speaking and Writing, which teaches CEOs and business owners all over the world how to develop their CEO strategies, become better speakers, and also how to write and publish their books. So for the past 2 years, I have coached individuals all over the world on these 3 items, and it's been a wonderful experience that I've been doing in addition to my own private practice. I want to share with you also my contact information. You're welcome. You can take a picture of the screen. You can screenshot that. And I'm sure Chris can, once this is published, it will probably have that information available as well when we go to YouTube. That's how you reach me. A couple things. If you have follow-up questions, if you'd like to give feedback on some of the things that you've heard, and especially if anything really resonated with you, I'd love to hear that. So my email address is there, liz@lizmlopez.com, and I'd love to hear from you how this information opened a door, sparked an idea, or kind of left you with a thought that you want to maybe brainstorm a little bit. So I'd love for you to be in touch with me. Okay, before we dive into why LinkedIn matters, I'm going to come back to Chris. And Chris, do we have poll results at this point?
We do. Let me go ahead and bring up, let's see, let's bring up this one here. Can you see that?
Let's see here. I don't see that yet, no.
Hold on one moment. I believe I need to control the screen. I beg your pardon. 1 second. Let me go do this really quickly.
Sure. Okay, yep, I see that.
Okay. All right. And now we'll move on to the next one.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And the other two questions, there were no responses, so I won't fill those up, but those are the two that
Okay. So basically what we've got is that we have a lot of times if somebody else has said to you, you really need to be on LinkedIn. And at that point, you go onto LinkedIn and you realize you have to fill out all this information. You're not exactly sure what to say, and you fill out the beginning of it, but never really get to finish it, and you never really use the platform all that much. Today, I'm going to tell you why it's important to get over that barrier to go ahead and complete your profile. I'm going to tell you why it's important, and I'm also going to share some tips with you on how to build a strong profile so that you can make connections with the right people. Whether you are an entrepreneur, a business owner, and looking to connect with more potential clients, or you are a professional who's looking to expand professional connections in your corporate world, and even look for your next greatest opportunity. So I want to explain real quick what we talk about with connection levels on LinkedIn. So, on Facebook, you have friends. On LinkedIn, you have connections. So if you look at this example here, you start with you. And that first level connection is usually, like a friend. If you were going out someplace and you had a friend, your personal friend, that would be like your first level connection. Your second level connection is more like a friend of a friend. So these are individuals, whenever you connect with someone, all of their connections become your second level connections. And what that does is that it expands your influence and your totality of your network on LinkedIn, because some of the materials that you will publish will be visible to those second level connections. And then you have third level connections, where now you're getting to people who may be more strangers or friends of a friend of a friend, and you may not know them as well, but you have some access to them. And then there's fourth, fifth, and sixth level, kind of like the 6 degree of separation, so to speak. But really where you have the most of your influence is going to be in this first and second level of connections. So important to note, as you build your connections, that when you're adding individuals into your network, those second level connections also expand your influence. It can be one of the motivators behind accepting more connections, as long as they meet your connection parameters and your comfort level. Some of you may be very open to connecting with a lot of people. Some of you may only want to connect with people you know. So you need to really decide what your strategy is around connections, so that as those invitations come through, you can make quick decisions on who to accept and who not to accept. Because that gives you Rolodex power. And if you are younger, never seen anything like this, let's just say it's like having the connections on your phone. It's being able to develop relationships that allow you to have a better idea of who you know, who can you connect, who can you offer insight into, where can you position yourself to be a solution for someone else. The more connections you have, the more you can say, oh, XYZ person needs this and XYZ person has that, let me connect them. Or maybe you are the solution to other people's needs, in which case you can then put yourself at the center of being somebody else's solution and drive up either your business or your career opportunities. If you are a business owner and you are looking at LinkedIn in terms of its ability to deliver more leads for you, it is absolutely a powerful tool for that. But it's not magic. Just because you're on LinkedIn doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to get sales. LinkedIn strategies allow you to put people into your sales process. So you have individuals that you're going to have a connection with, and maybe they'll become prospects, and you'll work them into leads, and you'll be able to convert them into sales. But a lot of that depends on the quality of your message, your quality of your sales process, and how good you are at converting leads into clients. But I will say that LinkedIn is a great place to source those clients. There are over 600 million professionals and business owners on the platform, and recent studies have documented what I've known for a really long time. I've been teaching LinkedIn for over 10 years because the conversion rate on LinkedIn has been documented to be 3 times higher than Twitter or Facebook. When you make connections on LinkedIn, these connections are more likely to take action, assuming that you've put in the time to develop the right kind of relationship with them. So again, it's not like you just meet someone, they're going to buy right off the bat. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about developing that relationship. But when you do cultivate that and you curate your content in a way to make invitations for your products or services, LinkedIn connections will act 3 times more than anybody that's following you on Facebook or Twitter. Okay. And if that you have questions about that, I'm happy to deep dive during our Q&A segment because that's a really powerful statistic right there. Let's talk about creating that profile so that you can start to have those better connections. It all starts with your profile. Your profile defines who you are, not only on LinkedIn, but really even on Google. Because anytime somebody Googles you, they typically are going to see your LinkedIn profile even before they see your own website. So great idea to make sure that if you have a LinkedIn profile, that you're making sure it is up to date. Because when people look at it, whatever that profile says about you is what people will believe. So if you haven't updated it in 5 years, if it's 3 employers old, people are not going to know that. They're just going to assume that that's correct. So if you have a profile, I want you to take enthusiastic ownership of it, starting with your professional looking photo. Now, it doesn't have to be a photographer that you've paid hundreds of dollars to take a professional portrait or headshot of you, although that investment can be absolutely wonderful. It could just be something that somebody took, a picture of somebody that took of you or that you took of yourself that looks professional. So quick notes, you want a picture that's basically your head and your shoulders. You cannot use a logo. Your profile can actually be deleted if you do so. And I don't recommend taking pictures where it's obvious that you've cut somebody off the picture. It just doesn't look right. It looks cheap and it doesn't present you in a professional way. Couple of things to know. Your profile is likely, it's going to be probably looked at about 14 more times if it has a picture than if it doesn't. Because if you're trying to connect with people, whether you're looking for a job or you're trying to establish a relationship that may lead to a sale, people want to know who they're engaging with. And when you don't put your picture on there, it just looks a little shady. So I am going to encourage you to get that great headshot of yourself, put that on there, and update it about every 6 months or so. Moving on, we are going to talk about the LinkedIn headline. In addition to your picture, your headline is going to be one of the most seen items. The three areas that the people see the most of your profile are your picture, your name, and your headline. And this is visible both on the desktop version, the tablet version, and even on your mobile devices. A weak headline, it comes across very generic, doesn't really define you well. And I'm going to give you some examples here, whether you are an employee and looking for a job, you're in the corporate world, or you're a business owner. I'll give you examples of both so you can see the difference in the impact. I worked with a client who was looking for a new position, and his headline just said National Vice President. Well, that's not terrible, but it's also not very descriptive. It doesn't paint a clear picture for me of exactly what this person was doing. It also wasn't connecting very well with job postings on LinkedIn. So in researching what this person really did, I was able to discover that he was developing strategies, he had strategic sales plans, he was dealing with multi-million-dollar contract negotiation, and he had clients all over the world. He was global. So his position was much bigger than his title was leading to for everyone else to interpret. You have to have clarity and making sure that your headline really is positioning you for exactly who you are, or maybe even just kind of going a little bit of a stretch to position you for exactly who you're looking to be next, right? So I'm not saying to be insincere, but I'm saying to align to the language of the position that you're looking for or the types of services that your clients might be looking for. If you are a business owner or a service provider and you're using LinkedIn to guide you to potential clients, you want to use language that your clients would use when they're looking for you. When a client wants to buy what you offer or needs a service that you offer, they're not going to research owner. If you look down here at the last example, they're never going to search the word owner. I'm pretty sure none of you have ever gone on to Amazon to buy something and looked for the word owner or director of marketing. When you want to buy something, you don't care who works for the company. You want the thing, the shoe, the dress, the gadget that you want. And in this case, this individual had one of those phone and tablet repair shops. So what we changed his headline from owner to visit an ABC gadget store, certified device repair, phone, tablet, iPods, laptops, clean stores, and professional staff. Do you see the impression that you get from that? Owner doesn't tell you anything about what he does or what he offers or why you would ever want to engage with him, talk to him, seek him out. But when you think about something's wrong with my phone and I need a place to go, and I want to make sure that I'm going to be treated well, that I'm in a clean place, it's not shady, all of a sudden this headline gives you a much different impression. And I'll do some Q&A about headlines during our Q&A segment. I'm going to move right along right now into the About section. The About section recently changed the name. It used to be called the Summary section. It's the same thing. You have about 2,000 characters that you can fit into the section, which if you're scrolling through LinkedIn is right underneath your contact box. And if you are a business owner, you can be fairly conversational here. Talk about yourself, talk about how you engage with others, what you do with others. Make sure you have a call to action. Ask people to engage with you. Talk about the services that you provide and how that benefits others. Use some creative formatting to break it up. One of the most important things to do in your About section and in any other area where you can have a lot of content is to make sure that you do not have bulky paragraphs. Nobody reads bulky paragraphs. Okay? Again, call to action, information about what you do, and put enough information on there to really incorporate the keywords and the message that's going to, keywords that are meaningful to the algorithms, and messaging that's really captivating to the audience that you're speaking to. Share your story, share your services. If you are a job seeker, you want to do something similar. You want to make it a little bit more formal, but still conversational. You want to talk about who you are as a professional. Include your professional brand. To talk about some of the highlights of your career. Sorry, let me go back to that. Highlights of your career, or even include some of your top achievements, top measurable achievements. Make sure you have contact information and that you're inviting them to contact you. A call to action makes a massive difference in your About section. It's the difference between somebody just kind of going, and looking at your profile and just kind of assessing, versus feeling like they have been asked to have a conversation with you. It's amazing the difference that it makes and how often just including that call to action will lead to conversations. And for the most part, if you're either job searching or you're trying to sell a product or a service, the whole point is to get into a conversation with someone. If people talk to you, you can then begin to build a relationship and assess when it's appropriate to put them into your sales process. The next segment that we are going to cover is your experience section. So this is as we're scrolling down your profile, you are now in the area where you've put in your job history. Now, it's true that LinkedIn did start out as a online resume, so to speak. And it's not quite the same. If you are a job seeker, that's pretty much what it's going to be. But if you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, it's an opportunity to market yourself. So you'll notice that in my experience section, I am kind of giving my tagline. I'm talking about who I serve, what I provide, how I work, what I do for others, the results that others get. If you go to my live LinkedIn profile, you'll see even more of that, where I'm really just talking a lot more about how I serve others. Right? Now, if on the contrary, I am a job seeker, then I'm going to have something that looks a little bit more like this, where it talks about what my job was in a couple of 1 or 2 short paragraphs, and then bullets that truly capture what I delivered, and especially bullets with numbers. If you are a job seeker, I want to just mention how important it is for you to provide evidence. In your resume, as well as your LinkedIn profile, it's not enough to say that you did things. You have to prove that you did things. The differentiator, especially in this far more competitive job market that we're currently in, the grand differentiator is evidence. Measurable results. So as many of those bullets with measurable results as you can put in allows employers to really get a feel, not for what you do, but what you deliver. It's critically important. So in this about section, in this experience section, a lot of questions that I get sometimes is, how far should I go? How many jobs should I list? Well, if you are an entrepreneur or business owner, you've been doing your business for about 10 years, it could be that you only list your business and don't go any farther than that. Similarly, if you're in the job market, you've been at the same company 10, 15 years, you may only mention that company. You certainly can include more history. It is traditional to have about 10 to 15 years of history, but if you're a job owner, if you're a business owner, you certainly can go further to kind of show how you became who you are now. If you are in the job market, you want to be a little bit more conscientious. Just because you had a great job 30 years ago doesn't mean you should include it. Ageism is alive and well in our job market, especially now where the job market's a lot more competitive. 10 to 15 years, 20 at the tops. I don't recommend going further than that, but I'll take specific questions around about that in our Q&A segment if you have some thoughts. From the experience section, as you scroll down, there is space to put a lot more information. And my advice to you is that only complete fields that make sense for your career or for your business. Certainly education is a popular one. Skills are very powerful. You get to list up to 50 skills that relate to either what you do as a business entrepreneur and service provider, or what you do as an employee, as a corporate professional. Volunteer organizations, courses, projects, publications, any awards, and so forth. If you have anything that's relevant to either the audience that you're trying to serve as a provider or your career that you're trying to develop, then absolutely add them. If you see something like, for example, patents or test scores, and it's not really relevant to you, then don't put anything in there. Do not feel pressured to put information in places just because there's a box. You only complete what's necessary for you. So let's summarize a little bit of what we've discussed, and then we will move into our Q&A segment. So it's important to think about that LinkedIn is more actionable than a lot of other platforms. And this is certainly true if you are a business owner. The conversion rates that individuals are getting from cultivating relationships on LinkedIn are much higher than what business owners are finding on other platforms such as Twitter and Facebook. Your profile is the foundation to everything. You can't have a great conversation on LinkedIn if your profile is not properly completed. Not only that, your profile won't be seen as much, because if your profile's not complete, you're going to rank really low in the algorithms. LinkedIn's not going to show your profile or your post or your materials to hardly anyone. The more complete, the more you show up, the better your connections, the better your conversations. And that's true for both business owners as well as job seekers. And my best advice is that you build your profile with confidence and strategy. And what I mean by strategy is that you are mindful of who your audience is and what you're looking to accomplish. To be aware of the types of relationships that you're looking to build so you can attract the right people. And that when people look at your profile, that they feel like you're somebody they want to talk to. And when I mention confidence, what I mean by that is don't play small. Yeah, you certainly don't want to come across bragging, but there's a lot of room between being way humble and shortchanging yourself to bragging. There's a sweet spot in between where you can be confident and proactive with mentioning how you truly serve others, whether you are serving them as an employee in a corporate organization, as a leader in a corporate organization, or you're doing so as a service or product provider, as an entrepreneur. Be really clear how you add value to others. Don't hold back. People need to know. If people know what you can do for them, then they're more likely to engage in a relationship with you, and that's exactly what this is about. The LinkedIn profile isn't meant for you to just have some cool words on a platform. It's meant to create relationship. Because this whole concept of social media works so much better when we focus on the social, not just the media part. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions. If there are any questions in terms of any part of the material or something I haven't covered, I'm happy to answer those questions. So Chris, if you can let me know if we have any audience questions, I'm happy to address those.
Great. Yes, we have some questions for you, Liz. The first one here if I can, should I change my LinkedIn photo more than twice a year?
Yes. I would say probably not more than once a month. But yeah, if you've got a great, fresh new picture of you that looks good and it's professional and you want to change it every quarter or even monthly, you certainly can.
Great. Okay, our next question, I get it's related to the app. Do you use the LinkedIn app?
I do.
I guess their main question is can they build their profile from scratch from within the app, or do they need to? Do you recommend the computer side?
So it depends on how much content you have on there. I am pretty darn sure you can do the whole thing on your phone or your tablet. It just depends on how comfortable you are typing up content in on those devices. So a laptop sometimes, especially when you're first doing it, can be more comfortable because you may have a lot of content to share. But I certainly would not uh, avoid it or put it off just because you have to do it on a tablet or a phone. You certainly can. Just may take you a little bit more time.
Okay. So we have another question here. If I have a career gap, how will I put it in LinkedIn?
Ah, okay. How I'm going to ask a follow-up question. So if you're able to, please put the answer to this in the question segment. How long is your career gap?
I'll wait to see if they. Oh, nearly 3 years, they said.
Nearly 3 years. That's not terrible. So there's a few different ways to present that and still be honest, but try to minimize the impact of it. So a lot of it depends if that's, I haven't worked in 3 years. If you have not worked in the past 3 years, then I would say fill it in with some kind of volunteer work or consulting, but phrase it so that it looks really honest and doesn't really look like a filler. If it's in between jobs in your past, then you may choose to not put in months and only put in years, and it may make the gap look smaller. A 3-year gap sometimes can look like a year and a half. And if there were things you were doing in that time, maybe you had volunteer work that you were doing, maybe you were going to school. So if there's anything that you can put in there to help fill it, great, as long as it's sincere. And if not, you may even address it very subtly. But let's say, for example, you worked in New York until 2006, and then you moved to Florida and you didn't work again until 2009. You could start your 2009 segment by saying, after relocating to Florida, and that way it just kind of shows that you were moving, right? And look, the bottom line is that if an employer is going to have a problem with the gap, they might as well know about the gap. Because if they have a problem with it, then those are not your people, right? The right
Yeah.
employer for you is one that's going to be understanding about whatever that situation was.
Yeah, they followed up by saying, what if the gap is because of baby care in this instance?
That's fine. You know, whether you're a dad or a mom, if you took some time off to raise your family, you took some time off to raise your family. Again, some employers are going to have an issue with that, not your people. And you can even, if you wanted to be really upfront about that, again, in the listing where you go back to work after the 3 years, you can put, you know, after taking time off to be with family or to raise a child, or you know, a couple different ways to word it, you can say return to the workforce and was retained by XYZ company to do XYZ things, and then show them the amazing things that you did.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, our next question is how much time should I spend on LinkedIn, either every day or every week? Is there a recommended time?
It depends on what you're looking to achieve. So LinkedIn is one of my main areas from which I get clients for both my resume design business and my coaching business. So I'm there daily. So for you, it may be a matter of 3 times a week, half an hour is going to be plenty. Or it may be an hour a week because you're really prospecting. It depends on what your specific strategy is. I will tell you this. You're going to hear from all these gurus saying, this is the magic formula. There is no such thing. I would rather you commit to 3 times a week for half an hour and feel good and do it consistently than to think that you need to be on there for 4 hours a day. And the minute you don't do that, feel like a failure and abandon the platform altogether. LinkedIn can be transformational in your business as well as your career. So find the time that works for you, but make a commitment to it. Schedule it just like you would a meeting, just like you would a meeting with your boss or a meeting with your network or a client meeting. Make yourself your own client during those times and be committed to showing up on LinkedIn. When I teach this as a I have a full 90-minute to 2-hour version of this that I do, where we go much deeper into interacting. You learn about liking and commenting on other people's posts. You learn about posting your own content, and all of that adds to your visibility and to your relationship building. So at the beginning, my most important thing that I want for you is to build a strong profile. And then from there, taking time to really be visible, both to yourself as well as interacting with others on what they're posting, which also increases your visibility.
Okay. So I guess, yeah, that ties in nicely to this next question about networking. And if you have limited time, do you have any recommendations on how to network effectively on LinkedIn?
Well, I can tell you the number one thing not to do. And that is, when you connect with someone, don't immediately send them a sales pitch. Don't send them something saying, hey, go watch my video on this, or hey, I have XYZ product, you want to buy it? People hate that. It's about cultivating relationship. So when you connect with someone, send them a thank you note. Just thank them for connecting. And then take a look at what they're doing on LinkedIn. If they post something, like it, comment, right? So, and it so depends on what your particular service is or your product is, but you have to tie it into what normally works for you. Are you looking to build relationships so that you can invite people to talk to you by phone? Are you doing Zooms with people to get them know them better? Are you sharing, information that could be helpful for them? Or are you doing some kind of free review of their insurance? It really depends on what your appetizer is in your sales process to begin with. And I would absolutely recommend you align it to that. The biggest thing I will say is warm the relationship first before you try to sell something to someone.
That's good advice. So it looks like we have one more question here at this time. They'd like to ask, do you recommend including a LinkedIn profile address in a resume?
Yes. Yes. So you know what? I'm really glad you asked that, because there's something important I want to say about that. So I would say yes, that is perfect to do. But here's the way to maximize that. My recommendation is that your LinkedIn profile and your resume not be exactly the same. You want to try to diversify some of the information that you're sharing. Absolutely, they can be similar, but they shouldn't be identical. And here's why I say this. If an employer is looking at your resume and they want to learn more about you, and they go to your LinkedIn profile and they don't learn anything else, then they just may decide there's nothing worth looking at anymore. Conversely, if they see you on LinkedIn and they ask you for your resume, again, brand new insights, a little bit different information. It allows, by using these platforms in partnership with each other, your resume versus your LinkedIn profile, you can provide a fuller picture of who you are and what you provide. Now, I know some of you might be groaning, going, oh no, I gotta do double the work. Not exactly double the work, but I would say try to make them about 25% different. Add something new. If your resume is super short, then you can make your LinkedIn profile longer. If your LinkedIn profile is super long, you may have a shorter version on your resume, so it's more executive design and more hard hitting. But play those two off of each other. And then a question I get asked a lot is whether or not you should upload your resume to your LinkedIn profile. My suggestion is that you don't, because then you'll never know who's looked at it. Instead, by having a call to action, you can give them a path to asking. Because if they reach out to you and ask you for your resume or ask you to apply, then you now have contact information for someone and can follow up and interact with them. So it gives you more control over that relationship.
Great. Well, any more questions from our attendees? We'll be happy to answer them. All right.
Looks
Well,
like we're all wrapped up with the questions, Chris.
Yes. I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera back on. If you'd like to do so as well, Liz, we can.
Sure, let me just find where I have that. So I just want to say that if you've had some value in this today, to contact me. Either go to my website or email me at liz@lizandlopez.com. I'd love to hear what the value has been in this for you. And of course, if you have any questions about LinkedIn profile services, coaching, group coaching, whether it's LinkedIn, career, or business, I'm happy to answer questions about that. I'm happy to engage in conversations around that. So I'm hoping that you get into action. So you take what the conversation that we've had today and do, even if it's just one thing, fix your headline or add more to your about or do something with your experience section. Commit to at least doing one thing in the next couple of days to really enhance your profile and improve the connections that you have on the LinkedIn platform.
We truly appreciate you being with us today, Liz. You shared a lot of things, and I've learned a lot as well just by listening and watching. And I hope everybody else had the same experience. Again, there's going to be a brief survey at the end. We'd love to hear about how the program was for you. Also, you can contact us directly, the library. You can go to the website hcplc.org/about/contact, or you can call us at 813-273-3652. We have staff who will be available 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you. And again, we're really happy that you're here with us today, Liz. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, Chris. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, that's all our program. Everyone have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.